Drew Barrymore was supposed to star in Scream, not die in 10 minutes. One phone call changed everything.
Hello?
And yeah, the screaming got so real that neighbors called 911. Here are 20 Scream secrets that prove this movie barely survived. Number 20. Let's start with the title that would have quietly killed this movie before it even started. The original script wasn't called Scream. It was called Scary Movie. Title change pushed through late in production, but then Sony threatened a lawsuit over similarity to their film Screamer. So now they're midway through filming, renaming the movie and dodging legal action. Absolute chaos. They landed on Scream. One word, sharp, immediate, a command and a reaction at the same time. It cuts, just like the movie. And the full circle twist, the Scary Movie parody franchise that launched years later, built on Scream's original working title. The name they threw away became a billion-dollar comedy franchise. Accidentally brilliant. Number 19. 5 nights. 5 consecutive nights to shoot 12 minutes of film. The Casey Becker sequence took 5 full nights to get right. Every shot had to feel inevitable. Every pause had to land. Wes Craven wasn't rushing it for anyone. And here's the detail that tells you everything. Drew Barrymore's screaming was so convincing that neighbors near the set called 911 more than once. Real emergency calls because an actress was doing her job so well that reality couldn't tell the difference. That's not performing scared. That's being scared.
I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
You cannot fake the energy of someone genuinely terrified after 4 nights of the same. 5 consecutive nights of pure controlled terror. The result became the most discussed opening scene in modern horror, worth every exhausting second. Number 18. Before Scream was even a movie, Kevin Williamson's script was already causing chaos in Hollywood. Paramount, Universal, Morgan Creek, all competing. A genuine bidding war over a horror script. Already unusual in 1995 when the genre was basically dead. And here's the kicker. Dimension Films wasn't the highest bidder. So why did Williamson choose them? Because they promised one thing no one else would. We shoot this now. As written. No development hell. No committee notes. No, can we soften this a bit? Every other studio wanted to round off the edges. Bring in another writer. Focus group it to death. Dimension said, give us the script, and we put it in front of a camera. Williamson took the guarantee over the bigger check. Because in Hollywood, a script in development hell might as well not exist. Getting made matters more than getting paid. Speed saved the vision, and the vision saved horror.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
Number 17. This almost ended Scream before it even came out. Studio executives watched the Casey Becker opening, the scene that would make the movie iconic, and they absolutely didn't get it. Too brutal, too intense. They wanted cuts, and for a brief terrifying period, there was real talk of shutting production down entirely. While the film was already partially shot, Wes Craven and the producers got on a plane, flew to New York, and screened it personally for Bob and Harvey Weinstein. Not a phone call, a face-to-face screening because this was make or break. The Weinsteins got it immediately, saw what those California executives missed. The opening wasn't gratuitous, it was the point. Green light. But think about how close that came. Those executives were a signature away from dismantling a film that would gross $173 million and restart an entire genre. Can you imagine if they'd won? No Scream, no slasher revival, no Saw, no Paranormal Activity, no modern horror renaissance. Sometimes the best movies survive, despite the people in charge. Scream is proof. Number 16. Now, Drew Barrymore was originally cast as Sidney Prescott, not the opening kill, not Casey Becker, Sidney, the lead role, the final girl who survives the entire movie. And then Drew had a completely different idea. She went to the producers and asked to swap to Casey Becker instead, the character who gets murdered in the opening 12 minutes, gone before the title card even appears. Why? Because she understood the psychological power of the move. And honestly, this is genius marketing psychology.
Can you see me right now?
In 1996, Drew was enormous. America's sweetheart. The girl from E.T. You put her face on the poster and audiences walk in expecting 2 hours of Drew Barrymore. That's the unspoken contract. And then she's gone, before the story even properly begins. It's like if Marvel killed Iron Man in the opening of Avengers before he even suited up. Every assumption the audience walked in with just shatters. Drew didn't just take a role. She weaponized her own celebrity to make the horror work. The swap wasn't just a casting change. It was a philosophical statement about what this movie was going to be. Horror was back, and it wasn't playing by the old rules anymore. And if you think the opening was risky, wait until you hear the one thing that almost got the entire movie shut down by the ratings board. Number 15. Most people assume Roger L. Jackson recorded Ghostface's voice in a sound booth after filming. Clean microphone. Delivered in post. That's not what happened. Jackson was on set, outside, in the dark, making the calls live while the cameras rolled. So when the actors picked up that phone, they were hearing that voice in real time, coming from somewhere nearby, from a person they couldn't quite locate. Craven made this choice deliberately.
He was there, next to her, with an arm on the shoulder saying, "Are you okay?"
You cannot fake the physical response of not knowing where a threatening voice is coming from. The disorientation, the scanning, those reactions are involuntary. You can only experience them, not perform them. The terror on their faces in those phone scenes? Not performed, genuine. Want scared actors? Actually scare them. Method horror filmmaking at its finest.
Leave me alone.
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy again.
Number 14. This one still blows my mind. Wes Craven, horror legend, the man who created A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger, one of the architects of the modern slasher. He kept turning Scream down. Not once, not twice. He kept saying no. By 1995, Craven was done, tired of being the horror guy. He wanted to make dramas, comedies, anything but another dark hallway and another masked killer. Studios kept approaching him, and he kept declining. Find someone else. I'm done. But then someone convinced him to actually read the script, not hear a pitch, actually sit down with Kevin Williamson's pages and give it a real read. And everything changed, because what Craven found wasn't another slasher clone. It was characters who knew the horror rules and were actively trying to survive by using them. Meta commentary before meta was mainstream, comedy and terror in the same scene. He recognized it immediately.
Foils your plan and saves the day.
Agreed. And brought 30 years of genre expertise to a script that was simultaneously honoring and dismantling everything he'd built. Sometimes you have to be convinced to make your masterpiece. And thank God someone put that script in Craven's hands. Number 13. So what actually broke his resistance? It wasn't the horror. It wasn't the kills. It was the comedy. Kevin Williamson had written characters who could sit around debating horror movie rules, the final girl trope, the never have sex rule, the stupidity of going into the basement, while being actively hunted by someone following those exact rules. Think about Randy explaining survival rules while Ghostface is literally in the same house. It's terrifying and hilarious at the same time, scared and self-aware in the same breath. Craven realized this combination had never been pulled off before. Funny and scary, where the comedy amplified the horror rather than killed it. That was the craft challenge that finally got him. He poured everything into it, his biggest commercial hit, the film that redefined the very genre he'd spent years trying to escape.
For instance, number 1, you can never have sex.
Number 12. This is one of my favorite production stories. The production commissioned professional custom mask designs from FX artists. Real money, real talent, and nothing worked. Too grotesque, too theatrical. Nothing had that balance of creepy and iconic. Then someone found a mass-produced Halloween mask made by Funworld in a costume shop, off the shelf, designed for trick-or-treaters. Cost almost nothing. It was better than everything they'd professionally commissioned. That mask is now one of the most recognizable images in horror history. Launched a franchise still going 30 years later. Started as a last resort party supply store find. Accidental icon. Expensive doesn't always mean better. Number 11. Okay, this one is both brutal and kind of funny. In the climax, Sidney hits Billy Loomis with an umbrella. It felt real because it was real. Skeet Ulrich had surgery before filming that left a sensitive spot. When Neve Campbell swung that umbrella, she accidentally connected with it directly. His reaction, the flinch, the involuntary grimace, that split-second look of genuine surprise and pain, is not acting. That's someone who just got hit somewhere that really hurt. They could have reshot it. They kept it. Because nothing an actor does in prep creates that specific micro-expression of real unscripted pain. Sorry, Skeet. But that accidental hit made the entire scene. Number 10. The entire party sequence, the 42-minute climax, was shot over 21 consecutive nights. 3 straight weeks of night shoots, no days off, no recovery time. The cast privately called it Surviving Scene 118, and that word, surviving, was not casual. By the end, nobody was performing exhaustion. They were exhausted. The dark circles, the raw nerves, the way scenes feel held together by sheer will. That's not makeup. That's 3 weeks of night shoots on camera. Craven knew exactly what he was doing. A cast running on empty brings something to a climax that a well-rested cast simply cannot manufacture. You're not just watching characters survive, you're watching actors do the same. Pure survival filmmaking. Stick around. The next fact is the one that literally rewired horror culture for the next decade. Number 9. Let's talk about real impact. Killing a major star in the opening minutes hadn't been done in mainstream cinema since Hitchcock killed Janet Leigh in Psycho in 1960. 36 years. That's how long Hollywood respected an unspoken rule. Stars don't die early. Hitchcock did it once. Audiences reportedly fainted, and the industry quietly agreed never again. Scream broke that contract on purpose. After 1996, horror audiences could never sit comfortably behind a recognizable face and assume safety. That paranoia, anyone can die, especially the stars, permanently changed how people watch horror. One opening scene, 36 years of dormant potential. You absolutely cannot unring that bell. Number 8. Before Neve Campbell won the role, other actresses were seriously considered. Reese Witherspoon was on the list. Vanessa Shaw too. But what Campbell brought that the others didn't is hard to put into words but impossible to miss on screen. It's a specific tension, fragility, and steel at the exact same time. In the same expression, Sydney can look genuinely terrified and genuinely capable in a single shot. That combination is incredibly rare and incredibly hard to fake. That's what makes her work as a final girl in a way that transcends the archetype. And it's what makes the ending, Sydney shooting both killers with calm precision, feel earned rather than forced.
Not in my movie.
Imagine Reese Witherspoon as Sydney. Different energy. Probably a different movie entirely. Casting is destiny. One choice changes everything, and Neve Campbell is Sydney. That performance defined the final girl for an entire generation. And speaking of choices that changed everything, wait until you hear what the studio tried to do 9 separate times before release.
I believe it was 8 or 9 screenings that we had to go back. And then again, the whole ending in general, they had huge problems with the Billy and Stu stabbing each other.
Get up! Get, man, get up! Hit it!
Number 7. 9 times. The MPAA came after Scream with NC-17 threats and they didn't stop at 1. First threat, cuts made, resubmitted. Second threat, more cuts. This cycle repeated until the 9th submission, when it genuinely looked like the film might never release in the form Craven made it. The objections weren't primarily about gore. They were about dialogue, intensity, tone. They wanted it softer and more generic. Bob Weinstein's winning argument. He framed the opening as an homage to true crime television, content already in American living rooms every week. If network TV could show it, so could a film. It worked. R rating secured. 9 rounds. 9 attempts to sand down the edges. The film won everyone, which is why it still feels dangerous almost 30 years later. The version you watched is the version Craven fought to protect. Number 6. To understand what Scream did, you have to understand what horror looked like in 1995. The slasher genre wasn't declining. It was dead. Straight to video sequels. Diminishing returns. Friday the 13th out of ideas. Nightmare on Elm Street, a self-parody. Nobody was making smart, theatrically released slasher films because the consensus was unanimous. Audiences were done. Then Scream opened at number 1. $173 million worldwide on a $15 million budget. The industry immediately greenlit everything they'd been sitting on. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, The Faculty. An entire wave of late 90s horror exists because Scream proved the audience was still there, just waiting for someone to make something worth watching. One movie, entire genre revival. The late 90s slasher boom has exactly one origin point, and you know what it is. Number 5. The killer you watch moving through Scream is not one person. Across production, the Ghostface costume was worn by stunt coordinators, background performers. Across production, the Ghostface costume was worn by stunt coordinators, background performers, extras hired for specific physical sequences. And in documented cases, Wes Craven himself stepped into the suit for certain takes. Practical necessity. Different sequences needed different physical skill sets. Fight choreography, sprinting, slow menacing walks. No single performer was right for all of it. But what this created by accident is one of the most effective things about Ghostface as a villain. He moves differently in different scenes. His energy shifts. He doesn't have the signature gait or predictable movement patterns that most slasher icons eventually develop. That inconsistency makes him genuinely unsettling in a way a single performer often isn't. You can't get a read on him. You can't predict his next move from his last one. Production necessity created a better monster. Brilliant accident. Number 4. Kevin Williamson didn't develop Scream over months of careful drafting. The initial pages came from one night of completely real fear. He'd been watching a news segment about the Gainesville Ripper, a real killer who murdered college students in Florida. Then he turned the TV off, realized he was alone in a house, and wasn't sure he'd locked all the windows. He grabbed a kitchen knife, checked every room, and then sat down and started writing. The opening pages, the phone calls, the escalating dread, the specific horror of being alone while someone might be nearby, came directly from what Williamson was feeling in that exact moment. He wasn't imagining fear. He was transcribing it. This is why that opening hits differently. It doesn't feel constructed. It feels like someone processing real physical terror by turning it into story. Fear creates the best horror. And Williamson had a lot of it that night. Number 3. Here's a wild real-world effect nobody talks about enough. After Scream released, caller ID subscriptions spiked nationally. Millions of Americans signed up for the service specifically to screen unknown numbers after watching a movie about terrifying anonymous phone calls. A horror film created a measurable behavioral shift in the real world. People watched Casey Becker answer that phone and immediately went home and changed how they answered theirs.
Hello? Yes?
Think about the threshold a piece of popular culture has to cross to do that. It's not enough to scare people in the theater. You have to create an anxiety that outlasts the credits. That makes people look at something as mundane as a ringing phone and decide to protect themselves from it. Scream did that. Film influencing reality at scale. That's a completely different category of cultural impact than any box office number can capture. Number 2. Before Scream, horror was over. Like, actually dead. Critics wouldn't review it. Studios wouldn't fund it. The entire genre had been written off as straight-to-video trash for teenagers. Scream changed that by being smart, by creating characters. Randy, Sidney, Billy, who could discuss the mechanics of horror films while living inside one. It proved the genre could be scary and funny, suspenseful and intelligent, both at once. Meta-horror became a legitimate subgenre. Self-awareness became a tool. Horror became something critics had to take seriously again. One movie shifted the entire perception of a genre. That almost never happens. Number 1. This is it. The ultimate legacy. What separates Scream from every other important horror film isn't the box office. It isn't the sequels. It isn't even the Drew Barrymore opening. It's the fact that Scream fundamentally changed the relationship between horror and its audience. Before Scream, horror audiences were passive. You watched characters make dumb decisions, and you sat there knowing what was coming while they didn't. The genre ran entirely on dramatic irony. Scream destroyed that. Randy literally sits in the living room explaining the survival rules. Don't have sex. Don't say, "I'll be right back," while Ghostface is moving through the same house.
That one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Number 1. You can never have sex. Under any circumstances, say, "I'll be right back."
The characters know what you know, and they're still dying. That shift is what meta-horror actually is, and Scream invented it. From Kevin Williamson writing in genuine terror, to Drew Barrymore choosing to die in the opening, to Craven finally saying yes. Every decision, every accident, every studio battle, it all came together. Scream proved horror could be smart, scary, and self-aware all at once. And 28 years later, we're still living in the world Scream created. What horror movie should we break down next?